Joining me now in the arena, one of the lawmakers who questioned Hegseth yesterday. He's the top Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island. Senator Reed, always grateful to have you here in the arena. I just want to start with what the president just said. Do you think that the conflict that the U.S. is currently engaged with Iran can be characterized accurately as a skirmish?
Absolutely not. This is a war. It's an unauthorized war because the president did not come to Congress for the authority which is required under the Constitution. But we are in a full-fledged war with Iran, and we have suffered casualties, as you pointed out. So to dismiss this as a skirmish is disrespectful to those men and women who've given their lives for their country.
We, of course, saw yesterday the Secretary of Defense coming to Congress looking for billions of dollars for this war. What are you hearing privately about the willingness of your colleagues, especially on the other side of the aisle? I know you have good relationships with your colleagues on the other side of the aisle on especially defense-related issues, about their willingness to fund this war.
Well, I think they're very skeptical, as they should be, of, first of all, the true cost of the war. I think they're vastly underestimated by the Department of Defense, by Secretary Hegseth. And also, they're very concerned because this war is so unpopular across the country. And I doubt very seriously if they're able or willing to go ahead and take this issue up before the elections.
One other place where Democrats have pushed back against the president or in part because of this war with Iran, is the NDAA, the annual funding. Now, I know that it was bipartisan coming out of your Senate Armed Services Committee, but you stood with other Democrats in blocking it on the Senate floor. How long do you think it makes sense to continue to do that?
Well, I think just the mechanics of getting the bill on the floor and all those things is that I would hopefully by September we'll be able to finish negotiations with the House. In the past, we've done that without actually voting the bill off the floor of the Senate. And so we'll be in a position to pass the NDA. It's a must-pass bill, and we will pass it. And again, the election is causing so much turmoil that could be another impediment to getting it done quickly.
Understood. Sir, in the last 24 hours, we've learned that the U.S. has struck a nuclear deal for civilian technology with Saudi Arabia to provide civilian nuclear technology to that country. Do you think that's a wise decision?
Well, I don't. So far, they've indicated that this deal will not encompass the same tight controls that we insisted upon when we helped the United Arab Emirates develop their civilian nuclear power. There will be no international supervision, and there are gaping holes in terms of the overall enforcement of the international rules. So I think unless they can put this into the same position that we did with the UAE, then we should be very skeptical going forward with it.
Do you see any upside to working with the Saudis, having them work with us instead of, say, China on similar technology?
Well, I think working with us is more positive at any time than working with China, but we have to be very concerned about nuclear proliferation. I mean, one of the factors in this whole debate that the president has started regarding NATO is the point at which the NATO nations are now talking about, some of them, do they need their own nuclear weapons? We do not want to see any other countries in the world get nuclear weapons. And if this arrangement with the Saudis leaves a door open for them to get nuclear weapons, we would regret it, I think, very much.
As we wrap up here, just to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, you and other lawmakers have said essentially that the president launched this war as an unauthorized war without Congress's approval. It has now, of course, been continuing for months. Do you think at this point the president has violated his oath of office?
Well, I think at this point, the president continues to operate without a plan, without a real goal. He talks one day about eliminating their nuclear capacities, then the other day it's regime change. He started a war without a goal, and he did it without a really appropriate understanding of the enemy. And as a result, we're in a terribly expensive, particularly in terms of human life, a stalemate with the Iranians. And that's not a position we want to stay in.
All right. The top Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator Jack Reed. Always grateful, sir, to have you. I hope you'll come back soon.
Thanks, Kelly. Bye-bye.
All right.